It's a real pleasure to introduce someone who's made a big impact in the field of occupational health. Dr. Alyanna Reyes has a broad background in community care, diagnostics, and primary care, and she's worked in a variety of medical settings from outpatient clinics to private hospitals. She completed her Doctor of Medicine at Southwestern University in Cebu City, where she earned the Dean's Medallion for her outstanding achievements. Before that, she graduated cum laude with a bachelor's in pharmacy from the University of San Carlos. Dr. Reyes is passionate about keeping people healthy and safe at work. She's currently the company physician at Reserve Systems International Incorporated, where she helps ensure the well-being of employees. On top of that, she is a wellness lecturer with IntelliCare, giving important talks on topics like mental health, hypertension, and diabetes. Her dedication to improving workplace health, combined with her personal approach to patient care, makes her someone you definitely want to hear from. So without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Alyanna Reyes.
Good evening, everyone. Uy, hinay man kaayo. Wa pa nabusog. Again, good evening, everyone. That's so much better. How was your dinner? Thank you so much for coming here. For those who came here from the first night no on Sunday until now, thank you so much. And for those of you who are first timers, thank you so much. You're all welcome here. Okay, so without much further ado, I'll be starting my discussion for tonight. Okay, I entitled my lecture as this. Sorry. Excuse me. Okay, so sorry for that technical problem. So how many of you here know someone or you yourself has hypertension? Raise your hand. Don't be afraid. You have hypertension or you know someone who has hypertension. Okay. Yes, this is a very nice and timely topic, right? And a lot of Filipinos and a lot of people worldwide are affected of this lifestyle disease. That's why it's very important to talk about it. So let me start with the story of this famous vlogger. I'm not sure if you know him, but his name is Apatan. He loves to do mukbang. And I just learned that mukbang is a Korean term for eating and broadcasting. So you broadcast what you eat. Mukbang. So he's a very famous figure in that field. And sad to say, last June 13, that was his last meal. Yes, it was his last meal. He ate a lot of fried chicken and rice. The following day, his sister announced his sudden death. And it's so sad because he was just 38 years old. He suffered from hemorrhagic stroke. And he left behind a wife and 3 young kids. Can you imagine that? And I learned that his family is still continuing his Facebook page, Facebook account, just to cater their daily needs, their financial needs. So it's really heartbreaking, right? We don't want that to happen to any one of us or any of our family members or even friends. Okay, so first statistics, hypertension has affected a lot of people. So it has affected over 14 million people in the group age 30 to 70, I think. And in the Philippines, it has affected 14, no, not 14.5. Let's check later, okay? I can't memorize the figures. And hypertension also is a very significant risk factor for other kinds of diseases like ischemic heart disease, or what we commonly know as heart attack, stroke. And if you have hypertension, it's not uncommon to have other diseases, or what we call as comorbidities, like diabetes, hypercholesterolemia. Sometimes it goes together because, again, hypertension is a lifestyle disease. So what do you mean by lifestyle? It's because of what you eat, what you do, if you're sedentary or not, and if you're full of stress, so it can really affect. I think there's a problem with. Excuse me. Okay, so this is the title of my topic for tonight, The Silent Killer. By the way, again, my name is Alyanna Reyes, and this is the story that I was telling you earlier. So, his name is Dong Apatan. Okay, he's 38 years old. He died of hemorrhagic stroke. My pointer doesn't work, but you can see here, it's hemorrhagic stroke caused by multiple blood clots in the brain. So, a local daily in the Philippines reported that a cardiologist attributed Apatan's death to the effects of consistently consuming salty food and meat, leading to hypertension and brain blood vessel ruptures. So, rest in peace, sir. So this was his last meal on June 13. So June 14, he died. So, okay, so here are the key facts. So, sorry for what I said earlier. It's 1.28 billion adults aged 30 to 79 years old. So not including those below 30 years old and above 79 years old. They are all affected with hypertension. Okay, and 2/3 are living in low and middle income countries. Okay, so in the Philippines, so we have a total of 14.5 million adults aged 30 to 79 who was diagnosed with hypertension. And this was in 2019. This is the latest that I can get in WHO. Can you imagine 14.5 million? And the next slide, we can see that the 14.5 million, only how many are diagnosed? Only 52%. I'm not so sure if you can see, but it's 52% are diagnosed, 36% are treated, and only 17% are controlled. Can you imagine that? Controlled hypertension or controlled BP means 130/80. So we can discuss that later on. So imagine that 17% out of that 14.5 million. Moving on, I saw this study from the Philippine Heart Association. It's called the Presyon Study Series, which talks about the prevalence of hypertension. So back in 1992, it was only 11%. In 2013, 28%. The latest they have is 2021, it raised to 37%. So we can assume, so this is like maybe a couple of years, or maybe this year it's maybe 40 or something higher, right? Okay, so I just want to show you very quickly that top one leading cause of death globally is ischemic heart disease, or what we call as heart attack. And this is caused by there's not enough oxygen going into your blood vessels of your heart. Therefore, your heart have this heart attack or coronary artery disease. And the number one risk factor for heart attack is, can you guess? My topic, it's hypertension. Okay, what is hypertension? So it is a common condition that affects the body's arteries. When the force of the blood pushing against the artery walls is consistently too high, and the heart has to work harder to pump blood. Blood pressure is measured in mmHg, or millimeters of mercury. Okay, so I want you to be familiarized with this slide, okay? So what we know as normal before is not normal now. Before, the normal is 120/80. Now, ipabaan nila, it should be less than 120/less than 80. So if you have a BP of 120/80, that's not normal anymore. You're actually in pre-hypertensive, okay, borderline as they say it, no? So elevated if you have 120 to 129 and less than 80. And if your BP is 130, it rises up to 130, or, can you see this? It's or ha and not and. So, or 80/89 for the diastolic, you can be diagnosed with stage 1 hypertension. And it goes on 140/90, stage 2 hypertension, and hypertensive crisis if it goes too high to higher than 180 and or over higher than 120. So what are these numbers, Doc? Okay, we will discuss it thoroughly. Okay, blood pressure numbers and what they mean. Are you familiar with this? Yes, it's our BP. Do you know the medical term for this, or the longer term? Let's not talk about it. Let's just say it's our BP app or sphygmomanometer, okay? So this is a digital one. We can buy this online. It's around 2,000 plus pesos, okay? So I really suggest and recommend you to buy one if you are hypertensive, okay? Because the key to regulating your blood pressure is constant monitoring and, of course, adhering to your medication and, of course, your lifestyle changes. Okay, so let's learn about the numbers. The systolic blood pressure is the number on top of the bar. Diba? There are two numbers. Okay, on top of the bar is the systolic, and below the bar is the diastolic. Okay, systolic is the first number, and it measures the blood pressure when the pressure your blood is pushing against your artery walls when your heart beats or when it contracts. Okay, that's systolic. And when it dilates or when it relaxes, that's the lowest BP, and that's the diastolic blood pressure. So their highest BP is the one on top, and the lowest is the one below. So if you have 120/80, 120 is the systolic, very good, and 80 is diastolic, very good. Okay, so what are the causes of this silent killer? Okay, so blood pressure is determined by two things. Okay, let me transfer here. So the amount of blood the heart pumps and how hard it is for the blood to move through the artery. So if you have a lot of blood, so it will be the heart will exert more effort to pump it, and if your blood is viscous, then it will take much more force from the heart to pump it efficiently. Okay, so there are main two types. It's the primary and secondary hypertension. Primary hypertension, mostly 90% of the time, it's also called essential hypertension. It doesn't have any known cause. And secondary hypertension, about 5 to 10%, it's caused by an underlying condition. That's why it's called secondary. So it tends to appear suddenly and cause higher blood pressure than does primary hypertension. So mostly our patients have the first one, the primary or the essential hypertension. Okay. So next is, these are the causes of secondary hypertension. I will not be able to discuss it because of the limited time, but there's a lot, no? And secondary hypertension tends to occur at a younger age. Okay. Next, what are the risk factors? If you have these risk factors, it means there will be much higher chances for you to develop hypertension. Okay, so age. So if you reach a certain age, then you will start to have the symptoms of hypertension. Above 60, above 64, like that. So it is more common in the age group 64 below for the males to have hypertension. But after 65, hypertension is more common in females. It's because of the menopausal effects of the body. Okay, so family race. So Black Americans have a higher possibility, higher chances of having hypertension. Family history, this accounts to up to 30%, no, hereditary. And what else? Obesity, if you're overweight. By the way, I don't know if you're familiar with BMI, body mass index. We really have to, I think most of us here are employees, no, regular employers. We have annual physical exam, and there the BMI is computed. So you have to know your BMI, and you have to do what you can to reach the normal range, because Asia Pacific guidelines is different from the Western guidelines, because they say Asians are more leaner, slimmer, okay? So you do your assignment, okay? You check the normal BMI. Okay, so next is what? Lack of exercise, sedentary lifestyle, tobacco use or vaping. By the way, vape still contains nicotine, but in smaller amounts, but it also has a lot of harmful chemicals with it. So I don't agree with the fact that you switch from tobacco smoking, you switch to vaping to be healthier. It's a healthier choice. I don't agree with that because it has a lot of harmful chemicals that goes along with it. Okay, next is too much salt. So the number one trigger of hypertension is too much salt. Why? Because salt, when there's too much salt, it carries with it more water. So when there's more water, what are the causes of hypertension? If you have, your blood is high in volume, one of the causes, right? So there's more water, then it will be more difficult for your heart to pump efficiently. So salt, number one. So who knows the RDA of salt or sodium? So RDA is recommended daily intake of sodium. You can say in teaspoons, or does anybody know how? More or less 1 teaspoon of salt. But don't be deceived, because when you're eating processed foods, those canned goods, they have sodium in it, right? So you really have to check on the nutritional facts at the back of every grocery item you buy, foods you buy, and really limit your salt intake. Okay, if you are hypertensive. Okay, lack of exercise, low potassium levels, because potassium is good for the heart. And drinking too much alcohol, we know there's a lot of evil that comes along with alcohol, right? Not just hypertension, there's a lot. So please drink moderately. And stress, okay, stress is the number one trigger for all kinds of disease, whether it's hypertension, diabetes, cancer. Okay, so make sure that, because stress is inevitable, right? It's always there. So make sure to do some meditation or yoga. Help yourself to be stress-free, or to know how to handle stress, okay? Because right now, because I'm a health lecturer, there's a lot of requests for stress management seminars. Mental health, stress management, that's the number one and number two topics that these companies, especially BPO centers, BPO companies request. Okay, next, certain chronic conditions like hypothyroidism, diabetes, and pregnancy can also increase your BP. Okay, so what are the symptoms? Okay, Doc, how will I know that I already have hypertension? That's why this topic, or hypertension, is called the silent killer, because most of the time, patients they don't have any signs and symptoms. So these are just a few of them: headaches, labad sa ulo, shortness of breath, and nosebleeds. But these symptoms aren't specific. Okay, if your BP is too high, then you'll experience chest pain, shortness of breath, back pain, or nape pain. You know where your nape is? Okay, at the back of your neck here. And numbness, you feel numbness, weakness, and blurring of vision, and difficulty speaking, no? Kuya, no, it's dangerous if you have difficulty in speaking, murag padung na stroke. So please be very mindful of this. You can take pictures of it. If you have a loved one who was taking hypertensive drugs, so that's it. And so please look at this slide. Most people with high blood pressure have no symptoms even if blood pressure readings reach dangerously high levels. So I was giving a lecture like 3 months ago, and he confidently told me, "Doc, I have a very high BP. And sir, are you taking any medications?" "No." And he was so confident. I don't know what he's thinking. And he has 2 young children, toddlers. So I really felt bad about it because he was not doing something about it. And it looks like he's proud saying he has hypertension. So I really pray for that guy that nothing wrong will happen to him because it's in a construction company. He's doing construction, and you know, when you're in a construction, you're always exposed to heat, diba? Like today, it's very hot today, and all kinds of the weather is not so good, and stress is there and everything, risk factors. Okay, what are the complications? This is just a few of them. Stroke, because again, hypertension affects the what? The blood vessels, okay, the arteries. So there's blood vessels everywhere, right? There's oxygen everywhere, right? So the blood is the one supplying oxygen. So if it affects the blood vessels of the brain, then stroke. And the eyes, they have tiny blood vessels there, arteries, so you'll have vision loss, no, retinopathy and everything. Heart failure, what else? Heart attack, kidney disease or failure in mga end-stage diseases, no, kidney. And sexual dysfunction. So, guys, do you know what I'm talking about? Some of you are smiling. When it doesn't stand up, say. So because yesterday the topic was about intimacy, right? About the relationship between husband and wife. So if it doesn't stand up, better have your BP checked, okay? Because most probably you have hypertension because it has affected the small blood vessels in your genital organ, okay? So complications, and then the diagnosis, okay? So we already know the terms, right? Systolic and diastolic. And what else? So, if you have a blood pressure of equal to or greater than, please take note, 130/80. Okay, so you'll be diagnosed with hypertension. But this should be for 2 or more readings taken on separate occasions, okay? It doesn't mean, because our BP fluctuates, right? When something, for example, you're drinking coffee, so it affects your BP. Okay, if you're from stress, you're running, so it increases your BP. If you don't have enough sleep, it increases your BP, so it fluctuates. So it should be 2 or more readings. And again, I'm showing you this category, so please familiarize yourself with it. Our target is, what is the normal? Everyone, if you're listening, less than 120 over less than 80. Thank you so much. So, okay, what is this? White coat hypertension. So, blood pressure is higher at a healthcare facility or a clinic or a hospital, okay? But when taken at home, it's just normal. So sometimes doctors give much more further labs for that patient who has white coat hypertension. So what else? Diagnosis. Okay, so these are the following tests that the doctor might request you to do if you are having hypertension. What else? Home monitoring is a good way to keep track of your blood pressure. By the way, I brought with me digital BP app. So if I'll coordinate with Pastor Kim, if any one of you want to have your BP checked at the back, Pastor after. Okay, so this is the best way, to keep track of your blood pressure. Of course, you have to monitor it. Okay, reminders. Okay, for those of you who have hypertension, for those of you who, okay. So morning and evening, you have to take your BP. This is the ideal one before taking your medicine, okay? If you have medication in the morning, so get your BP before taking the medicine so that you'll know your base, BP. And then avoid caffeine or alcoholic beverages 30 minutes before getting your BP check. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. Don't talk, and keep a record of your blood pressure reading. So what your doctor usually does is he will tell you to monitor your BP for a week or 2 weeks, and then he will get the average of it. So that's your BP. Okay, next. So this is the routine BP monitoring for adults 18 years old and above. It should be once every 1 to 2 years if it falls within the normal range. Children and adolescents, no, as early as 3 years old in the US, once a year in their annual checkup. So because again, there's what we call a secondary hypertension that has to do with, there's a secondary condition behind it. So it occurs more in the pediatric age group. It occurs earlier than does the essential hypertension. Next is for adults 65 years old and above, at least once a year if your BP is normal, right? High-risk individuals, more frequent. And let's go to treatment. What is the goal BP pressure? For most individuals, it should be less than 130/80. Okay. So lifestyle change for the treatment, eating a heart-healthy diet with less salt. Okay. So as you can see in this picture, so eat more potassium-rich foods like banana, potatoes, green leafy vegetables, reduce salt intake, so reduce eating outside the fast foods, right? So it has more calories and more salt, more oily. Then eat a balanced diet, maintain a healthy weight, be physically active, and limit alcohol intake, okay? We don't have a standard for how you say it's a moderate exercise, but in the US, they say moderate exercise is when you run, you can still talk, but you cannot sing. So that's moderate enough. But if you can still sing, so you have to run faster. Okay, next is, okay, this is the DASH diet, dietary approaches to stop hypertension guidelines for a healthier, more balanced diet. You can check it out on the internet, it's available. So this is what we aim for. So it's very low in salt, low in low-fat dairy, more of fruits and vegetables, more of grains, because our diet should be carbohydrate-based, okay? And, okay, for medication, there's a lot of medications. I will not talk about it, okay? But I know you're familiar with this, no? Like amlodipine, yes, losartan. So please be mindful, if you're taking amlodipine, don't drink grapefruit juice. There's a lot of side effects for each single medication, right? There's a lot. So some patients have to take another medicine for the side effect, diba? Very kapoy. So next is, there's a lot, see? There's a lot. So that's why they say the pharmacy is the drug company, the drug business is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Okay, so always take blood pressure medicines as prescribed. Never skip a dose or abruptly stop taking blood pressure medicines because you will develop rebound hypertension, okay? So if you want to go lifestyle change, because usually if you have high BP, your doctor will not give you immediately medication. So your doctor will tell you to change your lifestyle first and then come back to me after 1 to 2 months and let's see if your BP has normalized. So yeah, so everything you do, please tell your doctor because there's a lot of food or like herbal medicine, as we call it, that really lowers your BP. Like for example, garlic. So just make sure you tell your doctor because there's also what we call as hypotension, diba? The synergistic effect of garlic and amlodipine or losartan. So your BP will really go down. So I'm wrapping up. So take medicines as directed, schedule regular health checkups, choose healthy habits, manage your stress, ask for help. Don't be afraid to go to your doctor and inquire more about of this deadly disease, silent killer. And if you want, you can join a support group. Okay, so this is the last 2 slides that I have. Can we read it all together? Okay, ready, go. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. And the continuation is from Corinthians 10:31, 1 Corinthians. Read together. Whether therefore ye eat or drink, or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. So thank you so much for listening. I hope I have imparted a little of my knowledge about this number 1 killer, hypertension. So please be blessed tonight, I hope, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you so much.